This one protester just did what no one else dared, called out Elon Musk to his face. At a packed town hall event, Musk was in the middle of speaking when suddenly a protester interrupted him with a brutal message. But Musk's response, left the entire crowd chanting, and now the internet is losing its mind. What really happened? Let's break it down. It all started 2 weeks ago in Austin, Texas, where Musk was hosting a rare public Q&A to pitch his vision for the Department of Government Efficiency, a role he's been tapped for under the incoming administration. The room was buzzing with anticipation, hundreds of locals and Tesla loyalists hanging on his every word as he outlined plans to slash federal spending with the same ruthless precision he brings to SpaceX launches. Then, out of nowhere, a lone figure stood up in the back. A woman in her late 30s, her voice cutting through the murmurs like a blade. She didn't just ask a question, she hurled an accusation. Musk was a hypocrite, profiting off government contracts while preaching self-reliance and abandoning the workers who built his empire. The crowd froze, eyes darting between her and the billionaire on stage. Musk didn't flinch, at least not visibly. He leaned into the mic, his tone icy but laced with that signature smirk, and fired back a retort that turned the room upside down. He didn't just dismiss her, he dissected her logic in front of everyone, pointing out how Tesla's tax breaks pale compared to legacy automakers, and how her heroic stand was just performative outrage. The audience erupted, some cheering, others jeering, but the moment stuck. Clips flooded X, racking up millions of views, with hashtags like Musk vs Protester trending for days. Was he a genius defending his legacy, or an arrogant titan brushing off a valid critique? Who was this woman anyway, and why did her words hit such a nerve? Fast forward to March 31st, 2025, and that viral showdown lands squarely on the desk of Jimmy Kimmel. His late-night show has built a reputation for skewering the powerful, and tonight, with Elon Musk as the guest, the stage is set for fireworks. Kimmel's team has been prepping all week, digging into the protesters' story. A former Tesla factory worker named Carla Reyes, who lost her job during a 2023 layoff wave. Her outburst wasn't random, it was personal, tied to real pain from Musk's cost-cutting moves. The writers see gold, a chance to pit Kimmel's everyman charm against Musk's larger-than-life bravado. But what's about to unfold? Nobody, not even the producers, could predict how fast it would spiral. The lights dim, the audience settles, and Kimmel strides out with that familiar grin, tossing a few warm-up jabs about Musk's latest X posts. Elon follows, all charisma and sharp edges, waving to the crowd like he owns the place. For the first few minutes, it's standard fare, banter about SpaceX, a nod to Tesla's soaring stock. Then Kimmel pivots, his tone shifting, eyes narrowing just enough to signal trouble. He brings up Carla, the protester, and the Austin showdown. Why did Musk feel the need to destroy her in front of thousands? Wasn't she just speaking her truth? The question hangs in the air, heavy, baiting. Musk shifts in his seat, jaw tightening, and the room feels it, a storm brewing. What's he going to say? Will he dodge or double down, and why does this feel like more than just a talk show bit? The tension in the studio thickens as Jimmy Kimmel leans forward, his voice steady but pointed, pressing Elon Musk about the protester, Carla Reyes. He paints her as a symbol, a hard-working American chewed up and spit out by Musk's relentless drive for efficiency. The audience murmurs, some nodding along, others shifting uncomfortably, sensing the shift from playful jabs to something sharper. Kimmel's not just asking questions now, he's building a case, layering on the subtext that Musk's empire thrives by stepping on people like Carla. It's a classic late-night move, the host playing moral arbiter, and the crowds eating it up, their applause punctuating his every pause. Musk, though, isn't the type to sit back and take it. He crosses his legs, tilts his head slightly, that half-smirk creeping back as Kimmel finishes his spiel. The billionaire's eyes glint under the studio lights, and when he finally speaks, his voice is low, deliberate, cutting through the room like a scalpel. He doesn't deny Carla's story, doesn't dodge the layoff angle. Instead, he flips it, pointing out how Tesla's survival in a cutthroat industry demanded tough calls that kept thousands employed, not just one. He's not apologizing. He's explaining, but there's an edge to it, a flicker of irritation that Kimmel's framing him as the villain in some feel-good underdog tale. Kimmel doesn't let up. He leans into the everyman act, tossing out a line about how Musk's billions might make those tough calls easier to sleep with at night. The audience laughs, a few whoops rising from the back, and it's clear the host thinks he's got the upper hand, riding the wave of their approval. But Musk's demeanor shifts, subtle at first, then unmistakable. His smirk fades, replaced by a steely focus, and he starts picking apart Kimmel's logic with surgical precision. He asks, almost casually, if Kimmel's ever run a company, ever, had to balance payroll against bankruptcy. The question lands like a jab, and the room quiets, sensing the turn. The host tries to pivot, cracking a joke about how he's just a comedian, not a rocket scientist, but it doesn't quite stick. Musk's not laughing, and neither are parts of the audience. The billionaire leans forward now, mirroring Kimmel's earlier move, and starts laying out numbers, real ones, about Tesla's economic impact, jobs created, taxes paid. It's not a rant, it's a lecture, and it's working. Some in the crowd start nodding, others whisper to their neighbors, caught off guard by the shift from punchlines to facts. Kimmel's still smiling, but it's tighter now, his rhythm thrown off as Musk takes control of the narrative. Then comes the spark. Kimmel, maybe sensing he's losing the room, brings up the Austin crowd's reaction, how they chanted Musk's name after he tore into Carla. He asks, voice dripping with sarcasm, if Musk enjoyed humiliating her, if that's what gets him off these days. It's a cheap shot, meant to provoke, and it does. Musk's eyes narrow, his posture stiffens, and for a split second, the studio feels like it's holding its breath. He doesn't snap yet, but the fuse is lit. He fires back, calm but biting, saying he didn't humiliate anyone. Carla chose to step into the ring, and he just answered the bell. The audience splits, half cheering, half gasping, and Kimmel's grin falters just for a moment. The exchange isn't over, but the dynamics flipped. Musk isn't defending anymore, he's advancing, and Kimmel's scrambling to keep his footing. The protester's shadow looms large, her words from that town hall echoing through this Hollywood soundstage. But it's Musk who's starting to steer the fight. What's Kimmel going to do now? Push harder or back off? And how long can Musk keep this cool before it boils over? The air in the studio crackles as Elon Musk's last retort hangs between him and Jimmy Kimmel. The host's attempt to paint Musk as a bully who relishes crushing the little guy has backfired, and now the billionaire's cool, calculated pushback has the audience divided. Some are still with Kimmel, loyal to his underdog champion vibe, but others are swaying toward Musk, impressed by his command of the facts and unshaken demeanor. The energy's shifting, and Kimmel feels it. He adjusts his tie, a small tell of discomfort, then dives back in, determined to reclaim the narrative. This time he doubles down on Carla Reyes, the protester, pulling up a detail his team dug up earlier. She wasn't just a random ex-employee. She'd been part of a group protesting Tesla's labor practices outside the Austin Gigafactory for months, a vocal critic who'd lost her job after refusing overtime during a production crunch. Kimmel lays it out, voice rising, framing her as a David against Musk's Goliath, someone who stood up despite the odds. He asks Musk, point blank, if he thinks people like Carla don't deserve a voice, if they're just collateral damage in his quest to colonize Mars or whatever's next. It's a loaded question, meant to corner him, and the crowd leans in, waiting. Musk doesn't hesitate. He sits back, almost too relaxed, and starts dismantling the premise. He acknowledges Carla's right to speak, sure, but he questions why. Her story gets a halo while the thousands still working at Tesla, the ones who stuck it out, get ignored. His tone's still even, but there's a growing sharpness, a hint of disdain creeping in. He mentions how protests like hers make headlines, but the grind of keeping a company alive, that's invisible. The audience murmurs, some nodding, others frowning as he flips the script again, casting himself as the one carrying the real burden. Kimmel senses the tide turning and jumps in, cutting Musk off mid-sentence, a rare move for him. He's not letting this become a TED Talk. He pivots to the personal, asking Musk how he'd feel if his own kids called him out like that, if they saw him as the bad guy. It's a gut punch, designed to humanize the argument and throw Musk off. His game. The room goes quiet, the weight of the question sinking in. For the first time, Musk pauses, his expression unreadable, and the audience holds its breath, wondering if Kimmel's finally cracked the armor. But Musk doesn't crack. He tilts his head, lets out a short, dry laugh, and says, "My kids know. I'm not perfect, Jimmy, but they also know I don't play victim when things get hard." It's a direct hit, implying Carla's just whining while he's out there building the future. The crowd erupts, some cheering, others booing, and Kimmel's forced to raise his voice to regain control. He fires back, saying not everyone's born with a silver spoon and a rocket ship, a jab at Musk's wealth and privilege. It's a crowd pleaser and the applause swells, but Musk's unfazed, his eyes locked on Kimmel, a predator sizing up prey. The arguments escalating, each man digging in, and the studio feels like a pressure cooker. Kimmel's leaning on emotion, Musk on logic, and neither's backing down. The protester's name keeps surfacing, a ghost fueling the clash. But it's clear now this is about more than her. It's about who gets to define the story. Kimmel's fighting to keep his moral high ground, but Musk's chipping away at it. Piece by piece. The next move could tip the scales either way, and everyone knows it. Will Kimmel land a knockout, or is Musk just warming up? The studio pulses with raw energy as Jimmy Kimmel and Elon Musk lock horns. The protester's shadow now a distant spark in a full-blown inferno. Kimmel's last jab about privilege stings the air, and the audience roars its approval, feeding off his populist momentum. He's got them back on his side, their claps drowning out the earlier division, and he rides it, leaning forward with a glint in his eye. He's not done yet. He brings up Musk's recent ex-posts, the ones where he's been railing against government waste while pocketing Tesla subsidies, and asks if that's not the real hypocrisy Carla was calling out. It's a sharp turn, tying the protesters' words to Musk's own contradictions, and the crowd eats it up, their cheers egging Kimmel on. Musk's face hardens, the first real crack in his composure. He doesn't like being boxed in. And Kimmel's hitting a nerve, blending the personal with the political. He shifts in his chair, hands clasping briefly before he leans into the mic. His response is slow at first, deliberate, as he explains how every dollar Tesla takes is reinvested, not pocketed, how it's fuel for innovation, not a handout. But then his tone shifts, a trace of arrogance seeping through. He says Kimmel wouldn't understand, not with a cushy TV gig where the biggest risk is a bad monologue. It's a subtle dig, but it lands, and the audience gasps, some laughing. Nervously, others bristling at the condescension. Kimmel's quick to pounce. He fires back, saying he might not build rockets, but he doesn't dodge taxes or fire people for speaking up either. The crowd erupts again, louder this time, and Kimmel's grin returns, wider, cockier. He's got Musk on the ropes, or so he thinks, painting him as the out-of-touch billionaire who can't handle criticism. He pushes further, asking why Musk got so defensive in Austin if Carla's words didn't hit close to home. It's a taunt, baiting Musk to lose his cool, and the room buzzes with anticipation, waiting for the snap. And it comes, but not how Kimmel expects. Musk's eyes flash, and he leans forward, voice dropping to a cutting edge. He doesn't shout, doesn't flail, just stares Kimmel down and unleashes a torrent of controlled fury. He says he's defensive because he's tired of half-truths from people who don't get it, tired of being the punching bag for every armchair critic who's never built anything. Then he turns the knife, asking Kimmel, "When's the last time you took a real risk, Jimmy? Not a scripted one, not a laugh track one, but something that could actually cost you?" The question slices through the noise, raw and personal, and the studio falls silent, stunned. Kimmel blinks, caught off guard, his grin fading as the weight of it sinks in. The audience shifts, some murmuring, others holding their breath, sensing the power flip. Musk doesn't stop. He keeps going, voice steady but relentless, saying he's faced bankruptcy, lawsuits, death threats, all while Kimmel's been playing court jester for the safe and comfortable. It's brutal, a takedown that strips away the host's moral armor and leaves him exposed. The crowd's reaction fractures, half cheering Musk's audacity, half reeling from the sudden reversal. Kimmel tries to recover, stammering out a weak comeback about how not everyone's a superhero, but it's hollow and he knows it. The momentum's gone, snatched away by Musk's unflinching strike. The billionaire sits back calm again, almost smug, as the audience processes what just happened. Kimmel's still the host, but right now, he's not in charge. The fight's not over, but the wound's deep, and everyone can feel it. How's he going to claw his way back from this? The studio lights feel harsher now, casting long shadows as Jimmy Kimmel sits there, reeling from Elon Musk's verbal gut punch. The audience is a tangle of reactions, some still buzzing from the billionaire's brutal takedown, others uneasy, sensing the host's vulnerability. Kimmel's hand brushes his desk, a nervous tick as he tries to regroup. He's been blindsided, his everyman shield cracked open by Musk's accusation of playing it safe, and the sting is personal. For a moment he just stares at Musk, the man who's turned his stage into a battlefield, and the silence stretches, thick with unspoken stakes. Then Kimmel rallies. He straightens up, forces a chuckle and dives back in, determined not to let Musk run away with the night. He pivots to the crowd, asking if they think it's fair for a guy with billions to lecture anyone about risk. It's a lifeline, a plea, for their loyalty, and they respond, clapping and whooping, giving him the boost he needs. He turns to Musk, voice sharper now, and says he's not the one firing workers or dodging accountability. He's just asking the questions people want answered. It's a solid counter, rooted in the protesters' fight, and it lands, pulling some of the room back to his side. Musk doesn't flinch. He's in his element now, unshaken by the crowd's sway, and he doubles down with a calm that borders on arrogance. He tells Kimmel that asking questions is easy, answering them with action is what matters, and he's been doing that while others just talk. The jab's subtle but pointed, implying Kimmel's all bluster, no substance, and it reignites the tension. The audience splits again, some cheering Musk's defiance, others booing his swagger, but he's not backing off. He brings up Carla, again unprompted, saying she's free to criticize, but he's not obligated to coddle her or anyone. Kimmel seizes the opening, his frustration boiling over. He cuts in, voice rising, asking why Musk can't just admit he's human, that he might have screwed up with Carla and thousands like her. It's a raw plea, less scripted, more desperate, and it hits a nerve with the crowd, their applause swelling as they sense his sincerity. For a second, it looks like he's turning the tide, framing Musk as the cold machine against his beating heart. He pushes harder, saying, "You act like you're above us, Elon, but you're not. You're just richer." That's when Musk snaps, but not with rage, with precision. He leans in, eyes locked on Kimmel, and delivers the kill shot. "I'm not above you, Jimmy. I'm ahead of you. I've risked everything, lost everything, and built it back while you've been coasting on applause." The words are quiet, venomous, and they land like a sledgehammer. He doesn't stop there. He lists off SpaceX near failures, Teslas, brink of collapse moments, all while Kimmel's been telling jokes to a room that's already laughing. It's a masterstroke, flipping the risk argument back on the host and shredding his comeback to pieces. The audience erupts, a chaotic mix of cheers and gasps as Kimmel's face flushes, his hands gripping the desk. He opens his mouth, but nothing comes out, the weight of Musk's words choking his response. The billionaire sits back, composed, almost regal, as the room processes the wreckage. Kimmel's not done, not technically, but he's wounded, and everyone knows it. The crowd's still loud, but it's Musk's moment now, his triumph carved out of Kimmel's stumble. Can the host pull himself together, or is this the end of the fight? The studio vibrates with the aftermath of Elon Musk's devastating strike, his words still echoing as Jimmy Kimmel sits there, visibly shaken. The host's hands are planted on his desk, knuckles whitening as he tries to process the gutting reality. Musk has turned his own stage against him, and the audience is fractured, half enthralled by the billionaire's brutal honesty, half clinging to Kimmel's fading momentum. The air feels heavy, charged with the kind of tension that keeps eyes glued to screens, and the producers in the booth exchange wide-eyed glances, knowing this is live TV gold. Kimmel takes a breath, his jaw tight, and forces himself back into the fray. He's not going down without a fight. He looks out at the crowd, then at Musk, and lets out a strained laugh, the kind that masks hurt. He admits he's no rocket scientist, no empire builder, but he's got something Musk doesn't. A connection to the people watching, the ones who don't have private jets or government lifelines. Third's a last-ditch swing, leaning hard on his relatability, and it resonates, the audience clapping with a fervor that feels like a lifeline. He asks Musk if he's ever stopped to think how his ahead-of-us attitude alienates the very people he claims to inspire. Musk doesn't blink. He's past defending now, fully on the offensive, and his response is swift, merciless. He tells Kimmel that connection's nice, but it doesn't change the world, it just keeps you comfortable while others do the heavy lifting. The crowd gasps as he twists the knife deeper, saying he's not here to be liked. He's here to push humanity forward. And if that means stepping on toes, so be it. His voice stays level, but there's a fire behind it, a conviction that silences doubters and electrifies his supporters. The room splits again, louder this time, as some cheer his unapologetic stance, others jeer his arrogance. Kimmel's running, out of moves. He tries one more jab, his voice cracking slightly, asking if Musk's so far ahead, why he's wasting time arguing with a comedian instead of fixing the planet. It's meant to sting, to flip the script, but it falls flat. Musk smirks, a rare break in his intensity, and fires back that he's here because Kimmel brought him, because Kimmel needed the ratings, not the other way around. The audience roars, a mix of shock and delight, as the billionaire lands another blow, exposing the show's reliance on his presence. It's a humiliating twist, and Kimmel's expression betrays it, his shoulders slumping just enough to notice. The host scrambles, cutting to a commercial break before the damage deepens, his usual charm replaced by a clipped, "We'll be right back." The lights dim, the crowd buzzes, and Musk sits there unruffled, sipping water like nothing happened. Offstage, Kimmel's team huddles, whispering furiously, while the billionaire's calm radiates, a stark contrast to the chaos he's wrought. The break won't last long, but it's clear who's walking away stronger. Kimmel's wounded pride is palpable, and Musk's triumph is undeniable. A victory won not with volume, but with unrelenting clarity. The audience, still reeling, knows they've witnessed something rare, a clash where the guest didn't just survive the host's gauntlet, but flipped it entirely. Musk's not just ahead in his mind, he's proven it here, dismantling Kimmel's moral high ground, piece by piece. The protesters' spark lit this fire, but Musk's turned it into his stage. What happens when the cameras roll again? Can Kimmel salvage anything, or is this Musk's night for good? The commercial break ends and the studio lights snap back on, bathing Jimmy Kimmel and Elon Musk in their harsh glow. The audience settles, their murmurs fading into an expectant hush, every eye locked on the two men. Kimmel's back at his desk, tie loosened slightly, his grin a faint shadow of its usual self. He's had 3 minutes to regroup, to shake off the bruising Musk dealt him. But the strain lingers in his posture, the way his fingers tap the desk. Across from him, Musk sits like a king on a borrowed throne, relaxed, almost bored, as if the last round was just a warm-up. The contrast is stark, and the crowd feels it, leaning in for the final act. Kimmel opens with a quip, something about how he's glad Musk didn't bring a flamethrower, and it gets a laugh, a small lifeline, to steady his footing. He's not diving back into the protester or the risk debate, not yet. Instead, he pivots to lighter ground, asking Musk about his latest SpaceX launch, trying to steer the ship away from the rocks. The audience claps, grateful for the breather, and for a moment it feels like the old rhythm might return, the host regaining his charm, the guest playing along. Musk answers, tossing out a few stats about payload capacity, his tone casual, almost generous. But Kimmel can't resist. Maybe it's pride, maybe it's desperation, but he circles back, subtle at first. He mentions how those launches rely on government contracts, a nod to Carla's critique, and asks if Musk ever feels the irony of preaching efficiency while leaning on taxpayers. It's a soft jab cloaked in curiosity, but the intent's clear, a last bid to reclaim the moral edge. The crowd stirs, sensing the shift, and Musk's eyes narrow, just slightly. He's not falling for it. He leans forward, voice smooth but firm, and says he's never hidden the contracts. They're public record, and they're a fraction of what keeps SpaceX alive. Then he adds, You'd know that if you dug past the headlines, Jimmy. The line's a dagger, quiet, but lethal. And the audience gasps, some laughing, others stunned. Kimmel's smile tightens, his comeback. A weak "I'll leave the digging to you" barely registering as Musk sits back victorious. The host tries to pivot again, wrapping up with a forced thank you to Musk for coming, but the words feel hollow, a surrender dressed as courtesy. The crowd claps, a mix of enthusiasm and unease as Musk nods, gracious in his dominance, and the band kicks in, signaling the end. The cameras pull back, Kimmel shuffles his papers, and Musk rises, shaking. The host's hand with a grip that lingers a beat too long. Offstage, the crew buzzes, dissecting the night, while X lights up with clips and hot takes, the internet crowning Musk the winner before the credits roll. Kimmel's team tries to spin it, briefing him for damage control, but the truth settles. In he pushed. Musk pushed harder, and the stage wasn't his tonight. The protesters' moment in Austin sparked this, but Musk turned it into a masterclass, flipping every attack into a showcase of his resolve. As the audience files out, some chant Musk's name, others debate Kimmel's stumble, but there's no ambiguity left. Musk walks off head high, his triumph complete, not just over the protesters' echo, but over the host who dared to challenge him. Kimmel's left to face the next show, the sting of this one etched into his silence as the lights dim. It's over decisively, a story closed with Musk standing tall, unbowed, and the internet ablaze with his win.